Hello! Amber Layton is the wife of an extremely wealthy manufacturer. The girl receives all possible benefits from her husband, but she cannot enjoy a luxurious life without sincere love. Amber has turned into a sarcastic, whiny woman who is dissatisfied with absolutely everything and everyone around her. The next victim of her caustic nagging and bullying becomes an ordinary sailor, Giuseppe, who serves travelers on the yacht during vacations. As fate would have it, Amber ends up with him on a deserted island, where the temperamental Italian manages to melt the unhappy rich girl's icy heart. But will the lovers be able to preserve their love beyond the confines of the island and stay together in a society where such unequal unions are not accepted? A group of wealthy tourists from New York City in lavish suits and sparkling jewelry embark on a trip. The group arrives on a charter flight to sunny Greece, where they rent an old yacht. One look at it horrifies the picky Amber Layton, accustomed to luxury and comfort. The passengers are greeted by the ship's crew and the smiling captain, whom the arrogant Amber passes by in silence.
Not interested in shaking Blackbeard's hook.
One of the crew members, the good-natured sailor Giuseppe, escorts Amber and her husband Anthony to their cabin. Looking at it contemptuously, the pompous guest asks to see the local gym. In response, the simpleton Pepe brings the rich woman a small exercise bicycle and a skipping rope, which sends the already displeased lady into hysterics. In the evening, the group, dressed in elegant clothing, gathers for dinner together. As they talk, they recall that they are going to encounter many uninhabited islands on their way to Italy. Their idle chatter is interrupted by Anthony, who arrives at the table in a simple summer suit. By doing so, he immediately incurs the wrath of his arrogant wife. She accuses him of dressing up like Popeye, which she finds unacceptable even on vacation. Meanwhile, in the gallery, Giuseppe, having already fully recognized Amber's obnoxious character, laments to his comrades about having to serve such a bitter woman. In response, the captain asks him to keep his temper in check and not to forget about the money that they will pay them. The next day, the company stops at a small lagoon and sets sail on the water in rubber boats. While the other travelers are having a wonderful time, the squeamish Amber sits in the boat under an umbrella and abruptly declines Giuseppe's offer to join in the fun with the others. To maintain her figure, Amber diligently pedals on the exercise bike while the others relax on chase lounges. Without giving them a moment to indulge in a carefree vacation, Amber drags her friends into a discussion about liberalism and capitalism. Giuseppe, who is carefully scrubbing the deck, listens intently to their conversation. He is genuinely amazed at the socialite's claims that even blind people should work and can, for instance, bake pies. Shocked by Amber's way of thinking, Pepe cannot hold himself back anymore and expresses his indignation to the captain.
She's without a heartbeat, that woman. She's a lizard.
Stop mourning, Pepe. You're not married to her, you know?
Later, a group of wealthy ladies sunbathe on the deck, and the ship's crew doesn't miss an opportunity to sneak a peek at them. Giuseppe catches them doing this and, astonished by their inappropriate behavior, drives the rascals away. But for a moment, he too gives in to the temptation. The sailor stares openly at Amber, who notices his curious gaze. Soon, Pepe's momentary fascination vanishes when he serves the spoiled rich woman heated coffee instead of a freshly brewed one. The bitter Amber loses no opportunity to remind the sailor of the differences between them.
Who's paying whom to do what around here?
The group spends the evening at the poker table. Amber's husband owns a factory, and they talk about the chemical industry. Anthony draws Giuseppe, who is passing by, into the conversation and asks for his opinion on fertilizers and pesticides. Pepe's speech impresses the industrialist, but then Amber interjects in her usual manner and points out to the servant what his duties are: to clean the ashtrays. The next conflict between Amber and Giuseppe takes place at lunch. The lady angrily declares that the fish on her plate is bad. In response to yet another bitter complaint, Pepe imagines spilling the plate over the rude woman's head and then throwing her overboard. But in reality, the sailor meekly picks up the plate and takes it to the kitchen, where he finally lets his emotions run wild. After the next shore landing, Amber declares that she will now buy her own fish for dinner, and Giuseppe can stop bothering fishing it. However, the chef contemptuously examines the catch that Amber has brought and flatly refuses to cook it. The cunning captain asks him to prepare Giuseppe's fish. They will tell the squeamish girl that dinner was made from her catch. At the table, the proud Amber receives compliments from the group and happily tastes the fish herself, thinking that she is won. Giuseppe, meanwhile, continues to do his job and drags a freshly caught tuna into the galley in the evening, as an intoxicated Amber suddenly blocks his path. Suddenly, she starts flirting with the sailor and asks him to dance with her, to which the guy sharply withdraws and leaves her alone. But later that evening, when Amber goes out on the deck, Pepe again looks at her obstinate beauty with interest. Afterwards, he had been repeatedly sneaking glances at her while the lady was out partying with her husband and friends. One sunny day, they do not take Amber with them to explore the caves, and she decides to go there herself. Amber orders Pepe to bring the boat down to the water, despite his warnings that they are in a strong current zone and the weather may change. The couple sets out in a rubber boat whose engine suddenly breaks down, far from both the yacht and the caves. The arrogant Amber immediately orders the fisherman to fix it immediately, which he tries to do. But taking advantage of the situation, he begins to retaliate against the rich woman's caustic remarks.
I should take the engine that runs your mouth. Then we wouldn't have any problems.
They don't manage to fix the motor before nightfall, and the light boat is inexorably swept away by the strong current. The couple have to spend the night out in the cold. And in the morning, Pepe finds Amber in his sweater, which she had earlier squeamishly rejected because of the fish smell. Upon waking up, Amber becomes her usual self again and starts rummaging hysterically through the boat, trying to find something to save herself. She finds a flare gun in the hatch and soon has the perfect opportunity to use it. A boat is passing nearby. Amber grabs the flare gun and tries to fire it, but doesn't manage to get it working. Pepe wants to take the gun away so he can give the signal, but Amber, who wants to do everything on her own, fiercely resists. And eventually, the flare pierces the side of their own boat. Now the couple have to drift on a buoy, but they manage to survive the stormy night. And the next morning, the crash victims are miraculously carried to the shore of an island. Once on land, Amber hurries to get back to civilization and a working phone, and threatens to sue both Pepe and the captain of the yacht. However, the fisherman, after exploring the island, informs the arrogant lady that it's deserted. Amber responds by insulting and accusing the fisherman and continues in her usual manner of ordering and bossing him around. This angers Giuseppe, and he walks away, leaving the rude woman to her fate.
Well, let the rich look after herself.
Thus Amber, who is accustomed to comfort and servants, is left alone in the wilderness. While the socialite wanders along the shores of the island, Giuseppe finds an abandoned hut and settles into it, fetching water and making weapons for hunting. After wandering fruitlessly without food or water, Amber tracks down Giuseppe and sees that the fisherman is happily drinking fresh water. She waits for Pepe to hide in the shallows and brazenly steals his water. But the fisherman responds by showing the girl his mouth-watering catch, which silences her. Later, after cooking dinner, he defiantly eats it in front of Amber. The starving wealthy woman doesn't let go and offers the fisherman a gold bracelet and $10,000 for a piece of fish, trying, as before, to buy all the necessities. But Giuseppe puts the impudent woman in her place and makes it clear that her fortune is now irrelevant. To get food, she will have to curb her temper, work, and obey orders. The first of which is to wash Pepe's clothes. Hunger forces the arrogant Amber to submit. Cursing the fisherman, she nevertheless does his laundry, and to get a roof over her head, becomes his personal servant, and endures humiliation and insults, to which she herself previously subjected everybody around her. Giuseppe enjoys taking advantage of his superiority and does not hesitate to make caustic remarks to the now helpless rich woman, who is now forced to obediently endure his antics. Many days pass like this, and on one of them, the untamed Giuseppe forces Amber to undress in front of him, just as she once did on the deck of the ship. The girl refuses, and the fisherman pounces on her, and then suddenly stops. Pepe is in love, and declares to Amber that she herself will soon fall in love with him, so much that she will beg to become his concubine. After this incident, they spend the night apart, and each is overcome with anxieties. The next morning, the humble Amber continues to serve her master, and bringing firewood for the man, dares to express her reciprocal feelings. From this moment on, Amber and Pepe's relationship turns into an idyll. Previously unhappy and embittered at the whole world, Amber finally becomes truly happy, with no wealth or luxurious life. Having experienced sincere feelings, Amber deliberately hides from a rescue ship that one day sails past the shores of the deserted island. One stormy night, the roof of Giuseppe and Amber's hut begins to leak. The man searches for tools to fix the leak and suddenly finds a bottle of liquor on the shelf of their home. The lovers take turns sipping it and, cheerful, begin to play pantomimes. They have a great time, growing even closer. And the next day, as the couple weaves nets on a sunny beach, Amber openly confesses her feelings to the fisherman.
I love you.
But skeptical Giuseppe responds by saying that only on a deserted island could their feelings become real. And in the civilized world, Amber would have remained an unhappy American wife, and he a poor but happy fisherman. But despite these disturbing experiences, day after day on the island, the lovers live in absolute harmony and mutual passion, until the bitter morning when all of a sudden a rescue boat appears by the shore. Amber instantly reads in Pepe's eyes the desire to give it a signal and tries to stop him, begging him to stay on the island and repeatedly confessing her love for him. But the fisherman refuses. He wants proof that the rich man's wife will love him wherever he goes, and resolutely swims towards his rescuers. Soon, the victims find themselves on a boat headed for the nearby port, to which Amber's husband rushes in a helicopter to take his wife home. While the woman is on the phone with Anthony, the ship's captain tells Giuseppe that Amber's husband will reward the fisherman generously for saving his wife. On the shore, Anthony personally expresses his gratitude to Giuseppe, who silently accepts his words, glancing at Amber in her husband's arms, and refuses to offer to rest in a hotel room reserved for him. Anthony sends his assistant with a bag full of money, which he tries to give to the sailor as a token of his gratitude. Enraged, Pepe drives the man away and refuses the reward. But after looking inside the bag, he decides to keep it and goes to a jewelry store where he buys a luxury ring. In the evening, Giuseppe calls Amber and confesses his feelings to her, bringing tears to the girl's eyes. However, she must hastily end the conversation because Anthony is watching her and asks her beloved to leave her a note at the hotel reception. After planning their escape together, Giuseppe writes instructions for Amber. He will be waiting for her at 9 o'clock in the morning on the yacht at the pier. That night, he shows up at the hotel and leaves an envelope to the manager. Pepe asks him to give it to Miss Layton only when she is alone without her husband. However, the administrator is unable to do so. Anthony, who suspects that something is wrong, accompanies his wife every step of the way and does not allow her to be alone. Moreover, he notices an envelope hidden in the depths of the box, and when Amber gets into the helicopter with it, he asks her to give the envelope as a tip to the courier, which she obediently does, unaware of what the envelope actually contains. The messenger notices the address on the envelope and delivers it to Giuseppe, who is nervously smoking on deck, waiting for Amber to appear. Upon opening the envelope, he discovers the returned ring. Unable to believe that Amber has done this, Pepe rushes to the helicopter, which takes off and carries off his beloved, the again unhappy wife of the wealthy Anthony, who coldly watches his wife's bitter tears. As always, you'll find the name of the movie in the description of the video. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. Do you know any examples of a happy relationship between people of completely different social and financial standings? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next awesome retelling.